Oh, look at that. Okay, I'm going to have to change that delay. But we've got ourselves a best of 5 spawning up the top right-hand side of the map. Playing for Infinity Gaming, recently joined and representing them well. It is Solar. And his opponent spawning down the bottom left-hand side of the map. It is SortOf, the Korean Zerg. So it's a ZVZ. We ended yesterday with a ZVZ, and now we're starting off with a ZVZ today. So we'll just have to see how these two guys are going to play it out, but it's always interesting to have that foreigner versus Korean match. So far, we're seeing pretty similar builds out of both these guys. In fact, I'm pretty sure these guys are sitting right next to each other, so I'm sure they have their fair bit of practice. They're fairly aware of how each other is going to play. And as a result, we're seeing a bit of a style choice come out of these two guys, and so far it looks like SortOf is going to be getting the better hang of things. Now, Solar's going for early Zerglings, and you may think, oh, well, he's rushing, SortOf's going to be in trouble. No, SortOf is getting pretty much the perfectly timed spawning pool, the perfectly timed hatchery, because the way this is going to work is SortOf is going to be able to churn out his own lings, and they will pop. I went on a tangent about this yesterday. They will be popping, they will be ready pretty much right as Solar's lings get across the map. And if we look at this, assuming SortOf's going to react right, he's ahead 3 workers right now. He's got a faster base. He's mining gas as well. Right now, he's got a few less lings, but as long as he's producing them constantly, which I assume he will when he sees these crossing the map, which he has. So SortOf should be completely fine to defend this, and in a very good situation just from the start. So our Swedish Zerg is looking good so far. Now, of course, Solar going to want to poke and prod. These two guys are going to try and micro their best. I mean, it's StarCraft 2. You can always sort of nickel and dime your opponent in various ways. Right now, these guys showing a lot of respect for each other. SortOf was building a spine crawler, but he did decide to cancel that. Look at that. These guys, they're both just dancing. A queen coming down for SortOf should pretty much shut this down for Solar now that that base is established, and Solar's just going to have to accept the fact that he's in a slightly worse situation. Although SortOf looks like he may be going into his own bit of aggression, and he's actually skipping out on drones a fair bit. As he's going right into speed. Solar will not have speed. SortOf's getting a Baneling nest, so SortOf may just make a big Ling flood, and that's what he's actually going to be doing. Maybe he's aware of the sort of playstyle Solar is playing, and as we can see, he's banking these lings back here. He doesn't want to show off how many that he has. Solar wants to get some scouting information here, but once speed is out for SortOf, Solar will be in a lot of trouble here. And in 12 seconds, I mean, these lings may not make it across the map, and that would be that would be very troublesome for our Korean Zerg. So these lings are going to get us around on all of Solar's, and Solar's going to be in a lot of trouble here. Sort of starting Banelings, but there's really no counter to this for Solar. He's going to have to try and hold his ramp, but his spine's going to be cancelled. Really the only advantage he has here is queens. He does not have speed. He does not have his own Baneling nest, so he's likely going to lose his own base, it looks like. And with these Banelings for SortOf coming, these 5 Banelings, I mean, Baneling's not necessarily the biggest queen killing tool, but 5 of them, if they crash on the queens, or they can just be used as a deterrent, whatever SortOf likes. He's really in control of this game here. Solar started droning up, but he may pay the price. And look at this, the lings get a wrap around here. The Baneling's going to detonate on the queens there, add some extra damage, kill off a few of the lings, and now Solar is going to be taking massive damage. He loses his lings, and now SortOf has the choice. He can go to the main base, but no, he doesn't even have to. GG gets called. Solar is going to take the first game. Fantastically played. And look at that, it works. Automatic scene switching, guys. Okay, I'm just gonna lower that a little bit so it'll be a bit quicker. Just as it did take a while for that last one to kick in. So the next map will be Lost and Found, and I mean, ZVZs can be quick, and I sort of thought with us having a European player in this series, I mean, Korean ZVZ generally can be a little bit quicker than Korean ZVZ can be a little bit quicker than European ZVZ. Europeans really like to go to that roach and try and just outmass each other in a way and get advantages there. But with Korean ZVZ, it can be a bit more explosive. And honestly, I'm a big sucker for this sort of play style. I'm gonna have to adjust that camera and such at some point, though. Let's give it another. We're doing it live. Whoop, that's not helping. Okay, maybe we can. Don't mind me, I'm just chameleoning it up, changing things a little bit. Okay, that's not too bad. It's just my webcam's not that good. Alrighty, both these guys are ready. We're gonna hop into the game. Solar versus SortOf. Thanks to everyone for tuning into this Afreeca world. We're already off to a fast start. And here we are. The second game we're loading it. I'm paranoid of having to check that we're swapping scenes properly, but it does it automatically. The future is now. I can't believe I didn't do this for 20 events. But, alrighty. Still can't fix mistakes like that. So, not everything can be perfect. The second map was supposed to be Acid Plant. The third was Lost and Found. I got confused a little bit there as how it was called in chat. We'll be getting into the next match now. So we're just reloading in. No big deal or anything like that. It's awesome that 120 of you guys are already tuning in. But here we go. Now everyone's ready. We're on the right map. And we are loading in. Now in theory the scene switcher should still do it. Hello to everyone who's tuning in. Yeah, I think everyone was a little shocked by the results yesterday with Scarlet managing to 3-0 Sue. I mean, Sue really is a player who can be very good depending on his form. Or he can have a slump here and there. But either way, this Swede, spawning down the bottom right-hand side of the map, managed to take the first game with a very nice build order decision. It is SortOf. And his opponent, spawning up in the top left-hand side of the map, recently picked up by Infinity Gaming. It is Solar. So we'll just have to see. I mean, Solar can't really think too much of that build order choice. I mean, he was just behind from the start. And I mean, that sort of build order choice is almost worse. It was kind of was the worst build order that could happen with opening up in ZVZ, because if you go for something like an early pool, an early Ling and Bane, and your opponent sort of smells it out and scouts it and completely shuts it down, your opponent usually reacts a bit to... Your opponent usually is open for a little bit, or you can always sort of tip them over the edge. SortOf's opening was just perfect. It was perfectly timed what he decided to do, because the difference was so minimal but so huge that put him in such a good situation. In this game, these guys are opening up a lot more passively. There's no early shenanigans coming out of either of them. So we'll just have to see how this game's gonna go. I'm just gonna check, make sure we're not dropping any frames or anything like that. Oh, we did drop a few. I wonder what's causing this. It's hard to know. It could be my ISP. Canadian internet is a bit famous for not being great. yet we pay an absurd amount for it. But build order is pretty similar. And this is the kind of passive ZVZ. It could go into roaches from here. I wouldn't be surprised if Solar tries to put on the aggression somehow. That's just the nature of his play. And then SortOf, he can always decide to put on the aggression of some sort if he so chooses. However, these guys playing pretty passively. SortOf going for a third base. Solar sending out his own drone. Looks like Solar will be taking a different base location, sort of opting for the one that's a little bit more out there, whereas Solar taking the one that I guess is geographically closer. Not really a big deal at all in ZVZ. I guess the players have their preference. Solar moving out on the map with his few Zerglings, wants to put the pressure on. Why not? He can micro. Build order difference so far pretty much is 2 lings, sort of being a little bit more greedy. But he's also the one starting a Baneling nest. Starting up a few more lings while all this is going on. Taking a bit of damage on that hatchery, SortOf's going to have to do something about that. Where are all of his Zerglings? Alrighty, he's pulling these lings off. Solar actually getting a fair bit of damage done to this hatchery. Now the rest of SortOf units are here. But I mean, this is actually so much damage here from Solar. Just 4 lings, they just got so much done. The queen's here, so he shouldn't be able to get anything done. SortOf starting 2 safety banelings, though. As he is sniffing out, Solar saw how much damage he did to this hatch, and he figures maybe I can get a cancel or take it even further. And just Solar could just win the game here, guys. He's made a massive flood of lings. Banelings are here for SortOf, but it's really going to come down to the micro, and a good player like Solar, I think he's going to micro this well. One of the banelings connects, but I don't think there's a world in which SortOf keeps this hatch alive. A lot of lings died, and SortOf has a higher worker count, but that base loss is absolutely huge. Solar behind this, very safe, starting 6 roaches. SortOf has no choice really but to rebuild this base, and he's going to do just that, but he will be significantly behind now as 3 base Zerg versus 2. It's not a massive deficit, but it will be a noticeable one, and SortOf's going to have to work hard to come back in this game. Maybe get some of his own ling run-bys, things like that going down, as he's in a bit of a worrisome spot right now. Now, Solar is making quite a huge number of roaches, so he could be planning to go for an attack as he has cut the drones, but he's sort of middle of the roading it, which is always a fine line to walk for a StarCraft player. Now, SortOf is getting in with his lings, picking off a drone or 2, it looks like. Also getting a roach. So 2 drones, a roach. Small trades. I mean, he has the lings, so he may as well try and get something done. He saw all the roaches of Solar, and now he's starting his own unit. So if we look at this, the income, it's actually pretty much the exact same here. Hold on. Maybe I can do this. Look at that. We're getting the hang of this, guys. After 20 events, 20 Afreeca Worlds, this is the sort of big celebration one. And I'm learning the hotkeys. We're getting the hang of everything. Just wait. Just wait. If we do another 20 of these events, it's going to be absolutely fantastic. SortOf trying to go for a bit of harassment here and there, just seeing what he can get. Solar, on the other hand, going up on resources. But as I was saying, Solar really did delay making his base as he has been investing heavily in these roaches. And so that's actually put SortOf not too far behind despite losing this base. SortOf's really been keeping the pressure on with these lings, and now he's going for a nice run by. He's actually going to get by these roaches and into the main base, so we'll see if he can get any workers. Solar is hot on his tail, though, so we already see 1 worker go down, and we'll see if any more are going to fall. Good reaction, though, by Solar. He's only lost 1 worker, SortOf doing the classic peel 2 units off, but I have a feeling that Solar saw that, and yes, he did. Those 2 lings, their days are numbered, but still 2 workers gone down, pulling Solar out of position. SortOf is looking quite good in this situation. He's just playing very well. Alright, a lot of roaches on the production tab for Solar. So, I mean, the main difference is he has been committing to these for quite a while, so he'll have a very high number. SortOf does have his +1, though, so he'll be equal on upgrades. He's starting as 4th. Right now, SortOf, he's played quite greedy from here on out compared to Solar, who's been making units non-stop. So if SortOf is going to hold this, he needs to make a lot of roaches. And look at that, 12 on the production tab. He's also making 3 banelings, which will be very good for defense here. And he's starting as +2, so I think SortOf's in a very good situation just by the amount that Solar committed to these roaches, but didn't go for a super sharp timing or anything like that. These roaches are moving across the map for Solar. SortOf's going to have to be in position to intercept, but with this ramp, I imagine he'll be able to hold. I mean, we don't really know until they actually engage. The roach count, we'll take a look at that, 37 to 25. So Solar is a fair bit ahead. He's got a few of them rallying across. SortOf does have a Ravager or two, though, so he will be able to cross a ball. Actually picks off a roach or two. Nicely done. And SortOf's going to hold, and he got this base up sooner, so now he's the one with a much quicker base. Solar got a Lingen, but just a Ling. It's for scouting, but not going to accomplish too much there. And yeah, Solar doesn't really have a choice but to go home, and this is the power of a macro Zerg. I mean, SortOf's just, he's committed to macroing, and he's doing very well because of it. Corrosive Ball is raining down here. Now, SortOf can't really attack up that ramp, but he did get the quicker +2, so he may have a short timing with that. But he's actually just going up the ramp. He figures maybe I can get Solar here, and Solar's roaches are looking thinner in the count, and now he's pursuing. Solar may have to hold at his ramp, and I think he should be able to with a nice concave here. SortOf pushing him back, though, with Corrosive Balls, but he may not be able to permanently break it here, as he does get forced back. Now, if we look at the production tab, Solar, he's getting Burrow, he's getting his Tunneling Claws, so there will be a time in which he'll be able to get massive counterattack damage, but that does only matter if he's still alive at this point. SortOf's got a lot of bruised roaches, though. Supply-wise, he's very far ahead. Pushing up this ramp is so risky for him to be trying to do this again and again. Maybe SortOf should split off some of his units and maybe go for like a attack on both sides, something like that. I don't know if he's going to be able to just force his way up this ramp, but he's certainly going to try. And I mean, SortOf is really trying here. He's going for it, and he's got a large count of roaches. I mean, his count is looking a little higher, but as he starts to thin out, reinforcements are going to come into effect for Solar much quicker than for SortOf. So I mean, he's taking a trade right now, but I'm not sure if it was a great trade. SortOf may have to retreat at this point. The numbers are really looking in favor of Solar, so SortOf kind of trying to beat a dead horse by just sending out his units there. Also, look at these Overlords. Hopefully Solar does not get some Ravagers and Corrosive Ball that. Lurker Den is on the way for SortOf. Keep in mind he's got a good economy as he did start up his 4th base already, but he is down on workers a little bit as he did try and have that higher army supply. Now both these guys are remaxing, so Solar is going to be looking very good. And it looks like SortOf could be caught off guard by this roach counterattack here. We'll see. What does SortOf have back at home? He's starting a spine, starting several spines here. So that will help defend from these roaches, but as long as Solar micros, he should be fine. And now he's going to be having this counterattack. There's no spores there either. But there is an Overlord around pretty much all the bases, but we'll see how much damage Solar is going to take. Or SortOf's going to take, pardon me. These Zergs with S's in their name. We've got SortOf, Solar, and Scarlet. Oh, making it so hard for me as a caster. These roaches for SortOf are getting a nice engagement. Solar was sort of just streaming in there, and now he's getting on top of this. I mean, he may have to pull out, but it looks like he got a favorable trade there, and he's going to back up to the top of his ramp. He's got reinforcements coming. Now, as far as the counterattack goes, it looks like these guys are just meeting in the middle of the map. Some burrowed roaches for SortOf that were actually meant to harass come in to join the fight. And now SortOf's being pushed back. He's down on supply. He does have a spine to help him with the fight. So it looks like that SortOf may be able to force Solar back. However, he is down on supply, and that's that slight worker lead coming into effect right now. Solar just hasn't been committing lately to units as much. I mean, that was this is all really coming back to how many units that SortOf threw away. And now they're sort of in this trading phase, but Solar is winning out. Alright, Solar's going up the ramp, but I mean, Defender's advantage is huge in a situation like this. Corrosive Ball's going down, Solar's forcing his way forward, a Queen's coming up for SortOf, but it may not be enough. I think he needs to bring the spine, but it may be a little bit too late. He may even need to pull the drones here. He's just getting overwhelmed. The supply difference is is growing and growing. SortOf was trying to tech to those lurkers, so he has a Hydra or two in the mix, but I don't think he's going to have enough of a buffer. He's not mining at his 4th base, and it looks like that Solar's going to break him and tie up the series 1-1. So very well played by Solar there. I mean, he was at a deficit earlier in that game, and I mean, I guess it really just comes down to however the pro gamer's feeling, whatever they make of their situation. And Solar did play passively, but in the end SortOf did overextend. And now the 3rd map is going to be Lost and Found. Once again, I apologize to everyone if I am sounding a little bit grovelier than usual, or gravelier than usual, as I am just getting over a cold here. But we're loading on in. I don't have to worry about changing the scenes anymore, so that's making me feel better. We're going to get these guys into the lobby. The series is already close. Not sure what that noise was. I know I have some sort of notification thing set up. Might have been a thumbs up or something. I honestly have no idea what that was. Gonna be honest with you guys. Alrighty, it looks like everyone's ready though. We're gonna get into it. We're loading on into the game. Alrighty, but anyway, we've loaded on into the game. It's currently tied 1-1, spawning down in the bottom left-hand side of the map. It is Solar, playing for his new team, Infinity Gaming. And spawning up in the top right-hand side of the map, it is SortOf, the Swedish Zerg. So, ZVZ production tab tells a lot, and it looks like we're not going to be seeing any super early pools or anything like that. Just trying to find out what that notification was. Oh, there goes my lamp. No, no, no. As I said, my lamp was in a very precarious position. Just trying to slide off my monitor here. So I apologize for not observing right now, but as far as the build order goes, looks like Solar moving out with a drone. I suppose that's just for scouting. I'm not too sure. Or it could be for a hidden base. No, I think we saw Solar do this. Or I saw another Zerg do this. It was Namshar. He was doing it in one of the Wardy tournaments earlier today, and he went for a hidden base. Or was it? What Zerg did I see do this? It wasn't yesterday that one of the Zergs did this. Was it Solar who did this yesterday? No, he played versus Haas. I saw a Zerg do this yesterday, guys. I'm not crazy. But yeah, Solar going for a quick third base. He's also got the pool up, but he's foregoing the gas. Are we dropping a lot of frames? Doesn't look like there's a lot of frames dropped. But as far as the build order goes, I apologize for not talking to the game, trying to make sure everything is running well here. I can see the chat, but it's auto-translating, so sometimes the format gets messed up. But as far as the production tab goes, sort of starting up that Baneling Nest. Both these guys really just macroing up. Solar's opted for the hidden base. Sort of doesn't see it. Sort of doesn't know about the other base, so he could be expecting a bit of aggression and he may play a bit more passively. That would explain the Baneling Nest, but Solar's just droning like a madman. A lair is on the way for Solar. Roach Warren up for both of these guys. Now, sort of third was later, but I mean, it is in the normal third situation, but Solar will have a good economic spot. It's going to be interesting to see if this base is really going to be a factor. Sort of's moving in. He's going to scout this out and see the Roach Warren and see the Evo Chamber. And he's probably thinking, that's got to be for like a normal timing, right? What's this, where's that extra base? What are you doing? Overlord will be going down. We'll see if sort of is going to scout across the map. I mean, a hidden base isn't something that's common. Sort of scouting out. He really wants to know what's going on here. But he's in the dark. You can see he's making just a few roaches. It's like, am I going to be attacked soon or what? I mean, both these guys are equal on economy for now. Sort of, I mean, gotta be sniffing something out. It's like, you should be trying to at least take a third base relatively soon. Lings do get in. Scouts nothing of significance. So sort of still gonna be in the dark. Sees a third base, but that's actually the fourth starting up. And he's gotta be thinking, what are you doing? What's the reason for this? Where's that hidden base? Yeah, look, he's even sending roaches. But I mean, he's got vision, so no Nidus or anything that he has to worry about. So, sort of just following up like normal macro procedure when it's like a macro roach versus roach. He's got to be like, alright, I guess I'll start my fourth base soon. Like Solar's already done. Solar's getting away with this. What Zerg was it that I saw do this the other day? Was it... I want to say it was Namshar? Or maybe it was during Rainer's stream. Rainer versus Namshar. He went for that hidden base. Yeah, right before he played in Afreeca World, he was streaming. So this hidden Zerg base could be a new thing in the meta. These Zergs trying to trick each other. And if we just look at the worker count right now, it is 68 to 51. And that is just the full effect of Solar just being more confident and knowing what's going on. And just fully macroing. Like he's got an extra fully saturated base. Whereas sort of, he hasn't even saturated his third base fully yet. He's just so nervous of what's going on. He'll probably check the replay or the production tab for the next game. I mean, army supply sort of is ahead as he has been committing so much to units, but Solar will be heading into better upgrades. He's going to have Tunneling Claws and Burrow once again. But sort of may not give him the time. He's going to be attacking on 1-1. And he's getting right on top of Solar. I don't know if Solar expected this. There's queens that are transfusing. Sort of has reinforcements coming up as well. And he's got a good chunk of units. He's getting right on top of this. It's sort of just going to make like a super rush attack work. I mean, he's committing. Just like he committed in the last game. But it looks like he may be getting overwhelmed. And Solar is going to have a very strong remax here compared to sort of with his worker advantage. And soon to be upgrade advantage. So I'm worried for our Swedish Zerg here. So we're seeing pursuit occur by Solar. He's gonna try and break Sort of, and just look at the supply once again. Sort of's in a lot of trouble. Solar just a 4-base Zerg. He was greedy and got away with it. And as a result, Solar just has more stuff. Alright, Solar's going in. SortOf does have the defender's advantage. He even made a few Zerglings. I guess he was out of gas or something. But he's got a lot. He's doubling the army supply. He's got the upgrade advantage. 2 upgrades as an advantage. And so I think he's going to be able to overcome the defender's advantage of SortOf. And with that, our Swedish Zerg is going to be in trouble, as the current Afreeca World Champion is looking well today, as he wants to retain his crown. Who are we gonna send in to beat Solar if he manages to win this tournament? Look at that, just fully surrounding the workers there. Ah, it was a few star balloons I received from the looks of it, or that was. No, I'm trying to figure out. Anyway, we'll get into the next game. 4th map is going to be Lost, or no, not Lost and Found. It's going to be Dreamcatcher. Alrighty, we'll get these guys into the lobby. SortOf is not yet in the lobby. We can't play without him. He's a pretty big component to it. Alrighty, both these guys are ready. They're going to be getting on into it the next game. Looks like today could be a bit quicker than the other day. I mean, ZVZs just naturally do tend to be quicker. Just because, like any ZVZ series, if it has a... let me just make sure there's no buffering. Pretty much any ZVZ series, if it has... it's just going to be a bit shorter because there'll usually be at least one game, which is just a total rush or something like that. But currently 1-to-1, spawning up or down, or no, it's not 1-to-1. What am I talking about? Currently 2-to-1 for this guy spawning in the bottom right-hand side of the map. It is Infinity Gaming Solar. And spawning up in the top left-hand side of the map with the early pool, it is SortOf. I guess he says go big or go home, which is where he's at. It is SortOf. He's going to try and cheese out his opponent. We shall see how Solar's going to play. Solar looks like he is going to be playing respectful so far. It's either going to be a 16 pool or a 16 hatch from the looks of him. And that will drastically change what this build of SortOf's going to do. And it looks like that Solar is going for that early hatchery once again. Or, yeah, Solar. Man, the tongue tie is real. Just looking in, we're getting the odd stall here and there. So, SortOf is following us up with his own hatchery. It is just, it's just Lings, no speed. Solar, though, getting his own gas. The question is, will he be able to defend his base here? If SortOf gets the cancel, which is what he's going to want, that will be a pretty big deal. SortOf getting on top of this hatchery. Gonna be trying to get the kill. Solar, of course, knows that this was a 12 pool just from the timing that it's hitting. More and more Lings rallying across the map. Solar is going to try and save the base. I believe it was Scarlet we saw try and defend like this. As Solar does have his own Lings coming out. He loses a drone, though. That's the first drone going down. Solar is trying to buy time until he gets out his own Lings. Now, SortOf's got a good angle on this, it looks like. Kind of locked Solar out. Now SortOf's going to be taking a good fight here. The drones are in the fray, but so far we're seeing 4, 5, 6 go down. So 7 drones have fallen. And SortOf, whether he gets the hatch or not at this point, he may even be able to get another drone. Will he be able to get another 2? That's absolutely huge. Knocking Solar down on the worker count. SortOf, with his own hatchery up, is going to be doing quite fine back at home. Now, SortOf isn't going to have speed on his side of the map, so he's going to want to be churning out his, like, a lot of queens and maybe start a spine crawler. We'll just have to wait and see. There we go. He's moving his queens down, so he'll be able to sort of wall. But very good play from SortOf so far. Now, Solar's going to have the option of a counterattack, but if we look, Solar never actually did start his speed. He needed all his resources to go into Lings, so there's no concern for that for SortOf. And now, as long as he just macros up, he's going to be in a very good spot. The Swedish Zerg is not going down without a fight. Lings for SortOf going into scout. May actually make it in. Sees no roach warren or anything like that. There's actually no queen in the main base to clean this Ling off, so gets virtually a full scout. SortOf going to be happy with that. And if we just look at the worker count, SortOf's in a good spot. He's starting up a roach warren. And he hasn't started his own Zergling speed, so he is just going to be playing this roach-based style. Queens are going Overlord hunting as well as both these guys are for going Ling speed, so there's not much danger to move out and do this. There is the actual Lings out for SortOf. Now or for Solar, pardon me. There's actually no Lings to aid this with for SortOf. Solar trying to get in, but there's a wall blocking him, and he may actually lose this Overlord. May have bought enough time for it. The Lings are going to come back, try and be heroes. The Queens for SortOf are really committed to this, but I think that Overlord is going to get away. That queen in the wall there. Both those Evas being seen. Lair on the way for SortOf. So SortOf still is in the better economic position. As a result, he's got the faster third. These 2 Lings for Solar trying to get whatever they can. Not going to get as much damage on that hatch in the past game. As in the past game. But we'll just have to see. So Solar is behind. He's going to have to come back in this game somehow. Ling run-bys are always an option, but actually this game they're not an option as he never got speed. So maybe go for Tunneling Claws or something like that. Maybe go for Aspire, or maybe just try and be greedy and macro up. That worked very well for him in the past game. Tunneling Claws, or not Tunneling Claws, Roach Speed on the way here for Solar. Missile attacks on the way as well. SortOf also getting the same upgrades a little bit later. SortOf does seem to be that player who likes to squeeze out an extra drone or 2. But both these guys sort of heading towards the same thing here. Few roaches moving out for SortOf, going to test the waters, but there's plenty for Solar to respond. Maybe he's just trying to force out a few more units while he drones up, and he is starting a lot of drones, starting Aspire as well. I like to see this. This is sort of one of those wild cards. Now, SortOf is moving out, but it's not a big commitment. It's not like he was churning out tons of roaches, as Solar is actually up on the supply. So these roaches will likely go home for sort of be safety roaches, and then eventually he'll make a swallow mutas if I had to guess. Or he can always just have the Spire to be that deterrent, force Solar to go home if he ever overextends. Solar does have an Overseer here, but he has yet to see that Spire. The 2 queens may be enough to deter this. We'll have to wait and see. It actually is going to be pushed back. Solar not going to throw that away. Roaches have been moving across the map for Solar. He had the slightly quicker speed, and he is going to be up on supply for now. There goes my desk lamp. You'll have to forgive me for that. Fortunately, we are in-game, but it will be dark. Now, Transfuse going down on some of SortOf's roaches. Looks like he will have enough to force Solar back. Four mutas are on the way. May just be a deterrent. Maybe he's going to bank them and swell up. I mean, Solar never did scout. Or actually, he did scout it. Pardon me. I guess he must have gotten a Ling or a Roach in. Or just an Overseer. I think it might have been a Changeling that got in, actually. So this will no longer be a surprise. Hydras are on the way for Solar in order to deal with this. And sort of is... He's not making a ton of mutas, but he's making like... He's going to have 5. He's starting 1-1 as well, so he will have other shining aspects in this game. Muta is going to harass. We'll see if they can get a drone or two, but Hydras are there. They're really just there to force out the Hydras, though. Hydras aren't necessarily a bad thing in a ZVZ. Solar already planning to transition to Lurkers. Muta's looking for anything. Bit of harassment on a gas geyser, but when you only have 5 mutas, there's only so much you can do. SortOf is getting a quicker 4th base. That's a luxury the mutas and his map vision has bought him. He's gonna get a creep tumor as well. So far, no more dropped frames or anything like that, which is always good to see. Overlord getting taken out. These mutas are getting some nice damage there. Lurkers, though. How is SortOf going to deal with this? He's getting his own Hydra Den. We could be having that ridiculous Lurker versus Lurker. But usually one of the players will tend to be more aggressive and not lean on the Lurkers as heavily. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Solar could possibly hit a timing, and there we are. A lot of Ravagers starting for SortOf, which really are the anti-Lurker unit. Corrosive Bowels dropping down, hits a few of those Lurkers, bruises them up nice and good. But SortOf really can't commit here. Going to get an Overlord from the looks of it, and he does. Overseer going into that mode. Does he see the Lurkers? Yes, he does, so he can drop Corrosive Bowels on them. Solar going to have to micro those back. One of them eats a Corrosive Bowel, but still standing strong. It's going to be very tough for SortOf to break this location, although he's doing a good job littering the ground with Corrosive Bowels. Though just a few Lurkers and a choke point is all it takes right now. SortOf does not want to overcommit. He's got a Queen in this fight. She goes down after dropping a Transfuse. Overseer will go down as well, so I think that's pretty much going to end SortOf's attack for now. We'll see what he's going to go into. His own Lurker Den does seem to be the choice. Now, Solar's pushing out. The players are equal on army supply, but Lurkers and Hydras have a lot of value. But there is only 3 Lurkers at this point. Corrosive Bowels are very, very good. Oh, SortOf needs to be careful there. Dropping more and more Corrosive Bowels. Gonna be going for a Roach counterattack. Maybe able to get this 4th base. That would be rather huge. Solar is going to be moving in, but his army's not looking that scary, but he is up on supply. Or at least this army is, and he's got a lot of supply elsewhere, forcing that attack back. Sort of did get the fourth base there. Both these guys, they're pretty much maxed out, so it really could come down to one big fight, but Solar's looking to go for a nasty 1-2 right now. Sort of forced to split his units. He's picking off a few lurkers here. Solar's looking to get on this base, though, and that could be all it takes to get some nice damage. Massive corrosive bowels connecting there, though. Solar, or sort of, getting his utilization out of this. The counterattack at the fourth base is pushed off. These guys fighting on two fronts. This is just something very difficult to do as a pro gamer right now. Corrosive bowels raining down on top of these lurkers. Another one going to go down. So the lurkers are pretty much all gone. Sort of, though, wants to keep the space alive, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to. A few of his units are bleeding forward. And now these drones, I think, are going to have to evacuate this base as it is going down. One last shot goes down on it. Sort of now has his own lurkers, but right now these guys are pretty equal. This is just crazy. So now sort of on 3 bases. Solar just getting up his fourth again. So these guys are doing a lot of damage to each other. And as they approach max once again, it will be possible that this game does come down to just one fight. But so far they have been testing each other in a lot of places. The fourth base going to be, or third base going to be getting rebuilt for sort of. Solar once again going to be hitting in 2 places. Does get scouted, but sort of will need more to defend this. Needs to be careful. 1 or 2 lurkers would be huge for defending a spot like this, and now Solar actually cancels that base once again, so it looks like he may have gotten a nice checkmate off the Swedish Zerg and managed to come back in this game. He's looking very good so far. Solar loving that tunneling clause. Sort of now does have those defensive lurkers up so he can focus elsewhere. A single lurker moving forward will get picked off. And now we'll see what Sort of's plan is. He's got a lot of overlords moving out, getting vision. As long as Sort of can max out, he can always take a good fight. He does also have that Carapace sooner. But Sort of's army is not looking as good as Solar. I mean, he does have a lot more lurkers at the moment, but as Vipers are coming out, it's going to really complicate things for him. Solar getting that lurker burrow upgrade. He'll be able to dodge those corrosive bowels very quickly. Both these guys moving around, hoping to find some angle in which they can get a lead in this game or get a punch in this game. Nice pick off for Sort of. Gets a lurker. Those are expensive, however, might not be as expensive as all these roaches, which are going to go down, and Sort of isn't on that good of an economy. That's a pretty significant loss for him. He's going to remax with Hydras instead. And Sort of is hitting the base of Solar right now. It's just roaches. Gets a few drones, but going to have to get out of there. And this could be Solar's time to shine as he's moving out. He could actually catch these units. The 5th base for Solar does get cancelled, but Sort of leaving these units out a little too long. He's going to actually opt to get on top of the Hydras as I think he realizes that he's trapped. Going to maybe be able to kill the base there. Nicely done. That's a nice pick off, however. He's losing a lot of supply, so the next minute or two could be very rocky for Sort of, as I wouldn't be surprised if Solar just moves out. Looking at the army supply, it's looking pretty good for Solar right now. Lurkers pushing back some of these burrowed roaches. And looks like Sort of will be here to intercept these, force them back. The roaches are politely shown the door. Lurkers is a very good defensive tool, so it will be tough for Solar to break his opponent. Both these guys now have Vipers, and Sort of actually has a lot of Vipers here. So you can either abduct or drop blinding clouds for days, and those can really turn a fight. Supply-wise, though, I mean, we're looking at 34 roaches to 13, 19 Hydras to 22, so as far as just straight-up fighting units go, Solar really does have the lead. But these Vipers really could change that. We'll see if some Abducts go down here. There goes Solar's Viper. Nicely done by SortOf. Viper's very good for dealing with lurkers, which could really help SortOf out. There goes one lurker getting abducted. A blinding cloud as well. Viper's already getting their value for the Swedish Zerg. But if we look at it, Solar does have a 5th base up, and the economy is not getting any better. Massive mistake with the Vipers there for SortOf, losing I believe 2 of them there. I mean, these guys, as I've been saying this whole game, they're still maxed out. It can really come down to one big fight. However, the situation not getting any better for SortOf. He wants to take a good fight. He does have that adaptive talons. Today I learned that's what that upgrade is called. A lurker gets abducted, another one as well. So SortOf getting these nice pickoffs here. He's going to really have to keep that ball rolling, though, if he's going to overcome the deficit of a 5th base. Solar also getting his own Spire up. Possibly for eventual Broodlords, possibly for Corruptors. Mutas really could be anything. SortOf is getting 3/3. Solar just getting +3 attack, so it is going to be Broodlords. Now, Broodlords have an odd kind of counter in ZVZ. I mean, usually in other matchups, it's like, all right, Zerg has Broodlords. If you're a Protoss, you gotta make Tempest or go for some sort of weird Blink Stalker timing or attack with High Templar or something like that. Or if you're Terran, it's like, all right, gotta make Ghosts and Vikings. Or if you're Zerg, you think, I'm gonna keep my Hydras and I'm gonna abduct them with Vipers, and it works very well for Zerg players. We've seen some of the greatest StarCraft 2 fights have been like this, and if we look at this right now, SortOf maybe getting the angle he wants. He's got the higher Viper count, and he's got a good number of lurkers, so he may be getting some payback on Solar, picking off that 5th base. However, a lot of his own lurkers are getting abducted, and he's now down to 2. But, well, with 2 reinforcing, that may actually be enough. A blinding cloud goes down on both these guys' army, and SortOf's actually managing to push even further. He's killing off the 5th base of Solar. He's taking a fantastic fight, a small counterattack, but these lurkers are dealing with it, so SortOf really getting the better end of the stick right now. Viper's getting good abductions, though. This lurker count is being whittled down. However, Solar may be taking critical damage before this happens. Both these guys taking a massive beating. But the angle for SortOf seems better right now, and Solar is going to be losing his 4th base. And this is his 4th base, not his 3rd base that he's lost. Meanwhile, SortOf getting up his 5th base. Solar is in trouble now. I mean, he took a lot of damage there, and SortOf's coming back, but SortOf needs to be paying attention, needs to make sure he doesn't make a mistake from here on out, as he's just done a fantastic job bringing this game back, abducting a Hydra or 2. This is just Viper LaughNgamez. Now, Solar does have a higher army supply, but he will be down in upgrades for a time, as SortOf's +3 Carapace will be starting sooner, which will help him in the fights. And as long as SortOf can get out a few more units, he will be sitting very pretty. Solar is not rebuilding his base. He's basically all in from this point. Alright, I mean, if we look at the army right now, it's a lot of Roaches and Hydras versus pretty much just pure Hydra from SortOf. Roaches? Nah, we're past 20 minutes. We don't need Roaches, says SortOf. And looking at between this precariously weak rocks, these guys are fighting. Some nice abductions going down for SortOf. And he's got the better economy for now. Solar is forced to remake this base, but it's not a situation he wants to be in. Keep in mind, these guys have been going back and forth this entire game, this entire crazy ZVZ. And both of these guys are looking for something. The lurker gets abducted. Nicely done there. Solar wants to push in, but he really can't. Neither of these guys has decided to break these rocks. Overseer goes down. Solar's actually moving up north, and SortOf needs to be in position for this. Drones, I think, may have accidentally been pulled there, but SortOf's coming in. He's going to try and re-secure this position. However, Solar got a nice angle. A few drones going down there. SortOf, though, does have his 5th base up, so he's still in a good economic position. Gets his own abducts, and here goes the Vipers abducting each other. I think SortOf got the better end of that trade, as Solar's really just got like a Viper now. All these lurkers could eventually be abducted at this point. Crossaball's going down, forcing those lurkers back. These guys really can't push into each other, and SortOf really needs to respect that. He's got weak Hydras. You cannot push into 10 lurkers, which is what Solar has right there. So both these guys got their +3 Carapace. Solar managing to squeeze out a few more Vipers as they really are the game changers at this point. A nice angle for Solar though as he's getting in. He's sort of doing the reverse to what SortOf did. Vipers are really going to need to get some good spells going down here. Could be some Blinding Clouds on this or some Mass Abducts. Blinding Clouds do go down on some of the lurkers. They do quickly reposition though. And SortOf, he's kind of locked out of his 5th base. He could be losing it. He's got a lurker there, but it's going to go down. He's deciding to break. Blinding Clouds are going to be going down. The Vipers move forward. This could be the big fight I've been talking about. Some Abducts could be used on these units, and there we go. A few of those lurkers being brought back to SortOf's army. And these guys taking a massive trade right now. SortOf assuring there's no 5th base for Solar, so he is still in the much better economic position, or at least in the long run. Both these guys are actually relatively equal on economy. SortOf squeezing out a few more drones. Supply, though, he is ahead. Solar just hasn't had the stuff to replace his army. And looks like... I mean, this game, this is just an absolutely crazy ZVZ. Solar's going to want to try and get something to come back. Maybe go for he's got a few roaches. Maybe send some Tunneling Claws roaches in. But these guys are really just fighting over key positions, and that's what they need to defend. Massive Abducts going down for SortOf. And that may just be what seals the deal there. There's not many lurkers left for Solar. SortOf's economy is shooting up. This is Vipers rebuilding their energy, and SortOf may just go for an end game push at that point. That poor extractor getting drained. A few more Evo chambers going up so SortOf can get energy. You don't want to kill that base. This is like my fear. If I ever play Zerg, whenever I play random or something like that, my fear is, what if I accidentally kill one of my own buildings with the Vipers? But here comes a fight. Solar's pushing out, but that might just be because he has no other options. His army is so thinned out compared to that of SortOf. SortOf even getting a counterattack off at the 3rd base. And just the army supplies. SortOf ties it up 2-2. I mean, ZVZ, it gets a lot of hate, but when we have games like this... Oh god, it is so dark. Okay, hold on. I'm going to try and quickly fix this. Yep. Oh, look at that. I might not even need a desk light as long as I mess around. There we go. We're making a few changes to the streams. I actually, today I swapped over to OBS Studio. Apparently there's 2 kinds of OBS, but we're going to be getting into the next game. Got to scroll up through the chat spam to find the next map. And the... I gotta find out what the last one is. Alrighty, Fracture is indeed the last map. What a great ZVZ we've had so far. And these guys delivering fantastic games. Thanks to everyone for tuning on in. You can feel free to follow me on Twitter at LaughNgamez or subscribe on YouTube. Really shows that you guys are enjoying these matches. All right, but it looks like everyone's ready. I'm gonna have a quick drink here. I mean, that was a long ZVZ. I was thinking, all right, maybe this will be a short cast today. I mean, not that I want a short cast, but sometimes that's the way it goes. But I am glad this series. We're having a lot of close series in this tournament, which is always great to see. Great matches like this. Alrighty, here we are. It's currently 2-2. Spawning down in the bottom right-hand side of Fracture. Wants to move forward, wants to retain his crown, and so he needs to advance here. It is Infinity Gaming's Solar. And his opponent playing some fantastic ZVZ in that past game. It is SortOf. SortOf looking, I mean, I'm sure he's looking for a team. He's a fantastic player, as shown in that past game. But as far as how these guys are going to wrap this up, it looks like we are going to be seeing a pool, a 16 pool out of Solar, whereas SortOf is going to be going for the hatchery. Now, this isn't super aggressive from Solar. This is a 16 hatchery. It's sort of the safety one. Not going to be able to put on too much pressure, as Solar is going into his own hatchery after it. It will still be significantly more early than SortOf, though. Alright, so as far as the builds these guys have chosen so far. It's not too big of a variation. I mean, the timing is minimal between them. Solar's Lings will pretty much be getting across the map by the time SortOf's hatchery or spawning pool is done. So Solar playing it a little bit safer. Not at the cost of too much. There goes my lamp. If you guys haven't noticed, we're still working out some of the kinks in these broadcasts. But either way, the StarCraft's always good. And that's really all we need. So Solar sending out those feelings. They're not going to be scouted. He wants it to be a surprise. And just for a surprise, he just wants to keep his opponent in the dark as long as possible. Queen moving down. Now, Solar may be able to get an Overlord here if he decides to move out with that. Those Lings of Solar hiding out, up to no good. Likely for later scouting. This Overlord is making me a little bit worried. There we go. Overlord gonna be going down. I think that's really one of the first ones that Solar has lost. And it looks like that the stream may have died. I think that's just on my end, though. Whoa, holy notifications. There we go, all is good. I apologize about that. So, as pros have said, Fracture has a very small opening. I mean, it's just so small, so defensive. And SortOf's putting on the aggression here. I mean, he's committing off 23 drones, this sort of standard roach timing. Solar's reacting. He's going to try and hold on. He's getting up his own roach warren. Now, we're going to see how is SortOf going to put on the aggression. He doesn't have much gas, so he won't really be able to siege for Ravagers. He really wants to break this location. And SortOf's really going for it. The spine isn't up just yet. The roach has put out a lot of damage versus these queens. He's actually aiming for the spine crawler. Solar's own roaches are popping out. Transfuse going down on this, so SortOf could be in a bit of trouble. He manages to get the spine, loses a roach. And Solar's pushing out, manages to get that building Ravager, and SortOf's in a lot of trouble here. He's gone back into droning on his side of the map. Solar gonna maybe be able to counterattack. Chasing these units down. He decides to back off. But Solar with the lair, SortOf's just starting, so SortOf went for an attack and it didn't pay off. Very good reaction by Solar, seeing that this was coming. And now SortOf's going back home. He'll be starting his third base, Solar as well, so he's not too far behind because he realized that it's not like he committed a ton. He will be behind in regard to his roach speed, to his upgrades, so he is going to have to play very defensive from here and hope Solar overcommits at some point or get some counterattacks or something like that off. But on a map like Fracture, that is pretty tough. Third base is up. Both players know each other has a third base, so they're sort of just looking at each other, seeing who's going to make the next move. SortOf did get his +1, pardon me for missing that, and he's getting his roach speed now, so these guys actually are very equal. So this game really can go either way. Supply-wise, Solar is moving out. He does have that roach speed, so SortOf's going to have to be very preemptive about where he moves his roaches. He's moving them out just now. These slow little roaches, and Solar is actually looking to maybe hit multiple locations at once. This 3 roach hit squad's going to be going in for a counterattack, and 3 roaches is what you need to focus down workers, and this could actually deal a lot of damage. SortOf needs to react. He's sending his own roaches, but so far we've seen 3 drones go down. Make that 4 or 5. This is actually some huge damage for such a small commitment. Solar playing very smart here, realizing that he wouldn't be able to break his opponent, but 7 drones at this stage in the game is absolutely huge. So SortOf can't even catch those roaches because his own are so slow. He's now still just putting out as many roaches as he can, though. Really, both these guys are. But I'm sort of worried for SortOf after... God darn it, I made it to the 5th game without saying that. But I am worried for SortOf as looking at this. He's down on workers, and both these guys are just churning out roaches. This is really a situation, and it's like the math is not on the side of our Swedish player here. Now, he made some good moves in that past game in order... I mean, these games have really swung back and forth, so I wouldn't be too surprised if SortOf manages to make some play which will get him back in this game. It could be time for something, maybe, like, dare I say, like, throwing up a spire? Maybe going for dropper lords? Like, sneaking a few roaches out and going for a drop in the main base, something like that. But, I mean, when you're trying to make sure you don't die to your opponent's just sheer number of roaches, it's hard to be prepared for something like that. And if we look at this, SortOf has just been making roaches. He has not made a drone in at least a minute or 2 here, and in StarCraft that's a long time, so he really wants to get something done, and the fact that he hasn't made these drones is the only reason why he's equal on supply. He's getting a good attack here. He's actually coming in. He's sort of building himself a concave as he hits this. Solar's not quite in position, SortOf getting a nice fight, but is it going to be enough? Once again, he's being the aggressor, and Solar with that defender's advantage. I think it may just be too much. SortOf is going to be forced back. He's remaxing, but Solar's will be stronger. GG gets called. The Afreeca World Champion survives and moves on. Solar is going to be our first finalist in this tournament after a close ZVZ. I mean, 3-2 is literally as close as you can call it in one of these matches, but well played. Thanks to SortOf for coming on out here.